Hello and welcome to Planet Coaster 2, where you may have noticed that we're not in Legend Lake, we are actually in Thorpe Park. And that is because I have decided to enter Digital Dan's Challenge. Now, I've never done one of these before, but yeah, I have enough time over the summer, so I've decided to give it a go. The challenge is basically to replace Rumba Rapids with whatever you want. I'm obviously going to do a coaster because, it's Thorpe Park. They're not going to add a dark ride, are they? Um, but yeah, so I'm just going to go through my thought process quickly before I get on with building it. And my initial thought when I was thinking about what to build in this area would be what kind of theme to do. Now, obviously, we have Nemesis Inferno over here, which has the kind of jungle theme, so I could extend that into this area. We have kind of the Amity area with Amity Speedway, with Stealth over here. I could extend that. But I decided in the end to go for something original, something different, which would be steampunk, kind of industrial, that kind of theme that would allow me to use the townhouse brick set, which I've really wanted to use, but obviously doesn't really fit in Legend Lake very well. The raw iron set from the Parades pack, stuff like that. That's a theme I would really like to try and attempt. And yeah, so I guess I could tie that into Amity, make it like the industrial area of Amity, but I think it would work best if it was kind of separate. But anyway, the kind of coaster I want to go for is a Vekoma sit-down coaster. I feel like that's would fill a gap in Thorpe Park's lineup, and I think it's a type of coaster not many people are going to do. When I say Vekoma sit-down, I mean like Lek Coaster or Phonix, that kind of thing. Yeah, those layouts are normally look very well. I haven't been on one, but they look very forceful. They got lots of ejector airtime, which is something that Thorpe Park is really missing. I guess apart from that one hill on Saw the Ride, which is full of ejector airtime. And also, it's quite a small area. I think those coasters can be quite compact. So yeah, that would be good. We can put in turnarounds like Immelman or a dive loop, which would fit perfectly on that coaster type. So yeah, that's the coaster type I want to do. And I also, something here that I want to do differently from Legend Lake is up the realism aspect. Legend Lake is going to be a very big park. Obviously, I've only kind of just started with the first area in that, but it's going to be a big park. I'm putting more detail into what I want to look good rather than what I want to look really realistic. Here we have a very small area. It's not going to lag my computer too much to put in a lot into the realism. I think that would tie it together, especially when Thorpe Park, the theming isn't going to be on an incredible level. I'm going to try and maybe match the level of the Swarms theming, which is still a really good themed area, but it's not what I'm trying to achieve with Legend Lake. This, I'm going to put less effort into loads of props and stuff scattered around, more into the realism aspect. And also, speaking of kind of cutting corners, Thorpe Park isn't going to reconstruct massively the terrain of an entire area. They do groundwork, but I think I'm going to keep a lot of aspects from Rumba Rapids. I could potentially turn this into a river depending on how much space I need, have a bridge going over and have this as the rides plaza, maybe have the queue coming up around here. In terms of where Rumba Rapids station used to be, I could potentially use this as part of the queue pad and have maybe it coming into the station here. There's lots of ideas to be had. This kind of thing might stick around. It's very out of the way. Not really any reason for them to remove it. Same way they didn't remove part of the trough for Logger's Leap. You can see it from the Hyperia queue line. And I'm probably also going to keep this lake, but not put a splashdown on it, because Thorpe Park has likely learned from Hyperia that they're not very good at maintaining that sort of thing. So yeah, that is basically my plan. I'll come back and update you when I've built the coaster, maybe done a little bit of terrain work. But yeah, this is how the area is looking before I've added anything, and I will see you in the next update. Well, as you can see, the layout of the coaster is complete, and well, it's not fully complete. I still have to go through, do a bit more smoothing, and maybe some changes to the profiling. But other than that, there's also a few other things that I've done as well, which you may be able to spot down here. But first, I'm just going to take you through the layout, because the coaster is the main event. It's what I'm really going to be putting the most effort to in terms of layout and theming and everything. And keep in mind, I am planning to custom support this coaster. None of that has happened yet. Right, so the layout starts with a drop out the station. Now, Phoenix and Lek Coaster, the other Vekoma sit-down coasters, also do this. So we have a little drop out the station, a little turn to the right, and up the lift hill. And this lift hill is about the same height as the other two Vekoma sit-down coasters, and yeah, it would definitely stand out on the Thorpe Park skyline, that's for sure. I mean, even next to Stealth here, it looks a decent height. So yeah, it comes up the lift hill and goes down that big twisting drop 90 degrees to the right, and into a huge Immelman, which also curves out to the right. Now, this Immelman, it does get very close to Stealth, but I think that should be okay. If I put a support here, like, even that wouldn't get too close to the track or anything. So I think we should be safe with that. And also in terms of all these crossovers here and stuff, that's all fine. I've checked it, and no hands are going anywhere near any of these supports. So it should be okay. But yeah, I think obviously it's very tight on space, this little area that I have to stay in. But this is the best way, I think, of staying inside it. This huge turnaround, and this area here is very packed, as is this whole area that I'm not using for, you know, pathways and stuff. It's all very packed with coaster track. Obviously, it could be more packed, but this is how packed it is. But yeah, it comes out of the Immelman, curving round, and then I wanted this again to be a very airtime based coaster. So there's only 2 inversions. The rest of it is all trying to squeeze out a lot of airtime. So we come into this huge kind of airtime wave turn thing. And then a huge swooping drop, another airtime hill, quite low down this time. This one would give very good airtime, especially in the back row. And then it turns around again into this double down, and then a double up, kind of, or maybe more of just a very small hill. This, I think, would be a great sequence of ejector airtime. 1, 2, and then another one, all in quick succession. It's the kind of thing that I really like in a coaster, when there's just airtime non-stop. I think that's really fun. I love RMCs for that reason, and Intermins, but also Vekoma does it very well with this coaster model as well. And then into the classic station fly-through inversion. Now, this is very high up, which means I will have to make the station quite high up. If not, I may do an open station, which is what I did. Not what I did. I'm not Thorpe Park. What Thorpe Park did for the Swarm. They had an open station with the station fly through over top. I don't think I'm going to do that, because I don't think it's going to really fit the factory theme. I think it's just going to have to be a tall station. Maybe I'll extend it so it comes out to like this part of the brake run, just so it makes sense with the size. But yeah, this is probably going to be very much touching the top of the station, because I don't really want it to be much higher than this. So it comes out of this inversion. This part was quite hard to do because it's a very tight area. Obviously, I don't want to have to change anything that's going on with this pathway, Nemesis Inferno. In fact, I'm pretty sure that's against the rules of the challenge. So it was very hard to get this last turn in a way. It's carrying a lot of speed. Now, obviously, in an ideal world, this coaster would be longer, waste that speed, but we have a very small area here. So yeah, it has a lot of speed coming into the brake run, meaning a lot of configurations I tried to do this in, either the vertical G-forces were too high or the lateral G-forces were too high. I've made it very, very large and swooping now, so that it's balanced in a way that wouldn't kill you. But that included having to put a dreaded trim brake in before this airtime hill, and also hugely widening this last turn. The pro of that, though, was that it provided a very nice spot to put a large hellish cattle pen in to fit it into this space. So that's the one pro of having that. But in an ideal world, I would have extended this layout, maybe after this, having it come round this way, do some stuff like out here. Obviously this space isn't exactly available, but in an ideal world, that's what I would have done with it. But I have to fit it inside the line, so that's what I did. And then into the brake run, enough space for a train here, and then a long brake run to bring it down to the right speed. So in terms of, again, I said I wanted this to be realistic. From what I can gather about the Vekoma sit-down coasters, the transfer tracks are like this as you come out the station. And I'm pretty sure instead of sliding across, they rotate. So that's why this is at more of an angle than this. And then obviously this is also at an angle where if it rotated, it would connect. But yeah, so that's what I'm going to do here. Obviously, these supports need to go. That's not what they would actually look like. But yeah, this is going to be where I place the maintenance area. Right, so that's the coaster explored. I think personally it fits very well into Thorpe Park. It's big, it's thrilling. It's got lots of high thrill moments. It's not really a family coaster. It's intense. It pulls high G-forces, especially in the negatives. And yeah, I think it also fits on the skyline. I mean, I can imagine this being at Thorpe Park. But other than the coaster, let's talk about what else I have planned for this area. So essentially, as you come into the area, the factory steampunk themed area, the theme I'm still kind of working on, you got the main plaza. And this is a plaza which overlooks the lake, kind of an homage to the plaza we didn't get on Hyperia that would have overlooked the lake there, that we didn't get. This, obviously, it's exactly the same lake as Rumba Rapids, which I think that's a really nice paying of respect, and also kind of cutting corners, I guess, as well. And for now, by the way, I've kept in a lot of the Rumba Rapids stuff. This, where the trough used to be, is still here. In fact, it's utilised by the queue line. I don't know how much of it I'm going to keep. I don't know if I'm going to turn this into a body of water that you walk over with the bridge. Based on the fact I made a bridge here, that would kind of be the idea you'd think I'd be going for, but I'm not actually too sure at the moment. So yeah, the queue line it's a basic kind of Thorpe Park style queue line. Big cattle pen, walk a bit, big cattle pen, walk a bit, big cattle pen. Probably not as long as the real one at Thorpe Park would be, but this is Planet Coaster 2. You don't really need to make a massive queue line in this game, especially when you have as few people in the queue as you do here. And also I made a fast pass queue line, which comes up round here, connects there, from the exit pathway, which a lot of fast pass queues do. Speaking of fast pass, also I have to think about ride access pass, and that led me on to thinking about disabled access. So I have put in a wheelchair lift here. Hyperia has one, so I kind of modelled it off of that. But yeah, this is also the first glimpse of what the theming's kind of going to look like with this coloured brick and stuff. So yeah, that's a little glimpse at what the theming for this ride is going to end up being like. In terms of the Rumba Rapids station thing, I don't know if I'm going to keep it. I might just leave it here, turn it into a flower bed or something to pay respects, or turn it into a theming piece. As I said, I might have not said this, but I was planning to have part of the queue line on here, but the way that the placement of the coaster station was and the constrictions of size, I didn't end up doing that. And then out of the exit, we have a little gift shop where you can pick up your ride photos, and also this would be exclusively merch for this. Are these guys all right? I'm gonna put them out of their misery. There we go. Yeah, so this would be exclusively merch for just this ride, the same way that the Hyperia gift shop is exclusively Hyperia merch. But yeah, it's a very, very small gift shop with a very, very small ride photos area. And then the elephant in the room, I've also added a flat ride. Now, I'm not sure if Thorpe Park, when adding a new coaster, would also add a new flat ride on top of that. But that's what I've done. So yeah, that's how it's turning out. But yeah, the queue line, very simple. There's not really much space to do anything more complicated than this. I think this is going to fit the theme very well with the intricacies, and also it adds kind of a family flat ride to Thorpe Park, which they don't really have very much of. So yeah, this is how this area is looking, and again, I'm sticking to the steampunk industrial theme. I'm very, very much looking forward to putting it all together. I have multiple ideas of kind of what I can do in this area, but yeah, you're gonna have to wait and see in just a few seconds. For me, it's gonna be several hours, so I will see you when I've made a start on that. Well, the progress on the theming for this new Thorpe Park coaster has begun, and I am really liking how it's turning out so far. It's feeling very Thorpe Parky and pretty real. So I'll give you just a quick overview of what I'm working on before I then go on to finish it. So the very first thing I did was work on kind of the appearance of the area from the outside. Now, of course, this is a very tiny sort of themed area, as is Hyperia, with just one plaza. This is also just one plaza, basically. But I wanted it to feel enclosed, again, because I'm going for the factory theming. Factories, they would often have big fences around them and stuff. I was kind of going for that sort of look here. Very, very Victorian. Obviously brick fences. Probably not real brick, because this is Thorpe Park we're talking about. But still, the appearance of brick nonetheless. These lovely wrought iron fences from the parades pack work brilliantly here, as is the rest of the wrought iron stuff, as we'll get onto. So yeah, this kind of outlines the area as you're walking along, walking down this pathway. And then I did the entrance archway. Now, I wanted, my vision for this was for there to be, of course, factory gates, as a lot of Victorian factories had. And those were very ornate, very, very nicely designed. So that's what I did here. I built this large wrought iron gateway. Amity Industries is what I'm going for the name of the company that owns this factory. Of course, tying into the surrounding Amity area. And for this, I used, again, the wrought iron pieces from the parades pack, but also the gates from the mythology theme, which work really well here when you add the right colour and stuff. So yeah, I'm very, very happy with how this entrance archway turned out. I think it was a great way to get me initially immersed in the theming that I'm doing for this area. And then again, I've extended the pathway, or sorry, the fences all the way around pretty much the area. And for the parts next to the water here, which I'll talk about in a second, I've added kind of these archways, giving it again the Victorian feel, the sewage system, basil jet and all that. Yeah, so that's from both sides, as if this is a continuous body of water, which it isn't in reality, but it gives it that impression. And speaking of the water, I said in the last update that I was pondering whether or not to fill in the corpse of Rumba Rapids. In the end, I decided that I was going to do that, not all the way around, but in this part, I think it really improves the experience of the coaster, because you're going around, there's this beautiful scenery of the river, the water. There's water everywhere, and it brings together it. And I think also water lends itself to an industrial theme quite well, because where would we be in industry without water? So yeah, that's why I made that decision. But also it allows, just nice views and things, and a reason for there to be a bridge going into this area, although it's less of a bridge now, I would say, and more of just a pathway. Now, in the plaza itself, again, this isn't finished, but still very loose on the theming, especially on the buildings. So we've got the gift shop building over here, which is bordering the plaza. In here, I've made a start on the theming. This is probably actually the most themed building, or maybe even the most themed part of the area so far. But I've tried out making this window, and I think it turned out really nicely. I very much like how it looks. And also, the lights, I think, fit the theme very well. Also, not related to the theme, but related to the building itself, I added this lovely viewing area, because Thorpe Park, obviously, they would want to get people excited looking at the ride. Probably, most importantly, advertising the park on social media through pictures. So we want lovely viewing areas like this. So yeah, that's that building. And I've also gone a little bit into the story of this ride. I know I said there isn't going to be much of a story, but I'm kind of putting it as like a factory tour gone wrong kind of thing. So yeah, that's why we've got this sandwich board, I think they're called, over here, advertising factory tours. And of course, the entrance to the ride is here. Maybe it's not that obvious that that's where it is. That's why the arrow kind of leads you over here. And this is a good time to talk about the entrance to the coaster, which, as you can see, a lot of detail has gone in. Now, I've tried to emulate the way Thorpe Park does their ride signage, their height signage. I've tried to emulate the way they do that, and I think I've succeeded quite well. Yeah, I do really like how these boards have come out. And for the flat ride over here, I have used kind of the same signs there. So yeah. In terms of the flat ride, I've not done that much. I've fenced off the queue line, and I've done a little bit on the ride itself. I might keep it this simple. I'm not entirely sure. Not sure what else I would add, but there are some very beautiful nebulas out there, so maybe I could take inspiration from some of them. And in addition, obviously, the ride pad is very large, so maybe I will decorate that with something. So, onto the main event now, Surge, which is what I've named the coaster. I've done almost all of the ride fencing for this. Somehow adding these metal fences made the queue line feel even more hellish. I might add a cover over some of it, or I might do the very Thorpe Park thing to do and just not do any covers. So you'll be dying in heat and in rain. But yeah. So that's all done. I've also so previously there was kind of a maintenance road that came up through this area. I've redirected it around the queue line, just so it can stay there pretty easily. And to also showcase this, I've put a little van in the maintenance area itself. So the main event now, the station. It's absolutely massive, of course, and yeah, I've used references of real Victorian factories to get this looking the way I want it to, and I think it's turned out quite well. Obviously, when all the details are in, the many windows, that's going to look really good. The main thing about it is that it's just massive. I mean, if we come level with the top of this chimney, it's almost half the height of Stealth. So it is a very large station building, but I don't necessarily mean that would make it extremely expensive for them to build. I'm not really sure. And again, obviously, none of these bricks are going to be real bricks, because Thorpe Park, whilst they probably do have enough money to do that, they never would put in as much effort. Oh, and also the Rumba Rapids station pad I've now used as what will be a lovely flower bed. Now, what I would say I've been putting the most effort into getting right so far, when I obviously haven't been going into many of the intricate details of the buildings, has been realism based. So I've tried to get a somewhat realistic transfer track. This isn't that realistic, but it's quite out of the way. The supports, however, I have put in a lot of effort to, researching other Vekoma coasters of the same type, looking at the way they do their supports. So I've got the lift hill supports, and I've got this little area which is used for maintenance of the lift cable. So this is the kind of chain return, and that's all just scenery pieces. Oops. So yeah, and also just this whole maintenance thing. I've also added like electrical boxes and control panels all over the coaster in places where they should be. It's a level of detail which I've never gone into before in Planet Coaster 2, but I think is really, really good. And then I've also custom supported the Immelman here. I've put in a lot of effort into that. I added trough for when it goes slightly underground. And then I've also custom supported the inversion through the station and the outer bank. I don't know if I'm going to do any more custom supporting. This part is kind of eyeing me up, but then again, it's not really too unrealistic. I would say maybe I would just remove a couple of these supports that are too close together, but even then I don't even know if they are too close together. But yeah, that is the main thing that I've been working on so far. So in the future, I want to add obviously more greenery, more theming. I don't know how far in I'm going to go to the theming, to be honest. It's just going to be a matter of waiting and seeing what feels realistic to Thorpe Park. But for now, I'm happy with how it's turning out. We'll see how it ends up. So yeah, I will see you in the next update when it is all complete. Well, as you can see, this little square where I am building Thorpe Park's next coaster is finally completely filled, and yeah, it's finished, and I think it's turned out pretty much exactly how I wanted it to, which is great. And before I go into first person view to show you how it looks from a guest point of view, I'm just going to go around and show you some of the parts that you can't access via pathway. Which is mainly back of house maintenance stuff. So, you know, all the boring stuff. So, yes, the service road, which is coming around here, is decorated. Well, when I say decorated, I mean mainly just I've added gravel and dead grass where this road would be, as well as some more decorations like this. These are supposed to be coaster wheels over here. I don't know if you can tell that, but just a new shipment of new spare parts. And also, if you know Thorpe Park, then you'll be aware of Monk's Walk, which is the little public footpath that goes past Thorpe Park, and that's what this is. And to signify that, I've just added a tree stump where enthusiasts like me would stand to watch the construction of this new coaster. Right, so coming round now into the maintenance area itself. This is what I really like. So inside the maintenance shed, I've not done too much decorating. I've got a few more coaster wheels there, some of this stuff, some bin bags, a clipboard. Yeah, it's all very basic, but just to give that impression of maintenance. Yes, and also on the outside, just a bit of clutter. Nothing too intense, just enough to look good. And here at the catwalk, obviously I've got all of this going on. I have the transfer track, this would rotate, and all of the same stuff I talked to you about in the last update. And then I've also added a whole maintenance pathway. It just comes through here. This would mean that, you know, maintenance could get around easily, walk through the maintenance area without having to shut the ride down and stuff. And here is access to the trough. Obviously this is the first glimpse at one of the theming pieces on this coaster, and then just some more back of house things over here, and also it gives access to the ride camera, obviously very important. Now that all of that is out of the way, I think it is time to go into first person and show you guys how this looks from the perspective of a Thorpe Park guest. So over here we have the entrance into Amity Industries. This has remained vastly similar to how it looked in the last update, except a lot more greenery, a lot more foliage, which brings the entire area really to life. And it makes it feel a lot more alive. Now, obviously, this probably isn't how the coaster would look opening year, because we know what a Thorpe Park is like. This would probably all be brown and dirt. But imagine this is how it looks maybe 2 or 3 years after the ride's opening. Into the main plaza now, and it's actually quite immersive. I'm not sure if it's too immersive for Thorpe Park. I don't think so, but some might think it is. We've got this big cog on the ground, and then a look across the lake, a beautiful view. The station all fully detailed with the windows, the wrought iron details, the Amity Industries branding, the chimney. And then over here, this very large moving piece of scenery. I know that's very exciting for Thorpe Park to have something like this, but I thought, they did the billboard with the swarm. I don't think a large theming piece like this is too beyond them. And just before we take a look at the coaster and all of that, I'm just going to show over at the cog. Not much has changed here, to be honest. I didn't really want to do too much detail, apart from the fact that this ride has a massive queue time. I don't know why this ride's so popular, but it completely mogs the coaster with its queue time, even though I think the coaster's much better. But yeah, I've just added a bit of cog theming over here, and some places for people to put their bags. Nothing too detailed, but that's how I like it. It's just a flat ride, and a lot more money would be put into Surge. So yeah, let's go take a look at Surge now with its 2-minute queue time. Now it's stuff like this sign and all this details that I've really enjoyed doing, just to bring this whole area to life and make it feel like it's inside a theme park. Now I do a little bit of that in Legend Lake, but nowhere near as much as I'm doing here for this ride. So I've got all of this signage telling you where things are. This this board, which I wouldn't do at Legend Lake. Oh, it just jumped up to 4 minutes. There you go. And you'll see more of that as we continue to explore the area. Moving in to the inside of the queue line now, as we come past. There we go. And I've got this retaining wall in with minimal theming on it. And come under the brake run, up the stairs, and we have this large theming piece. And I've got various machines like this scattered around the whole ride. I don't know what any of them would do. I mean, this is just, I have no idea what this is even supposed to be, but it works. And also, I just noticed how accurate this branding is. It seems very Victorian, but yeah. I don't know what any of this machinery is supposed to be. It just, looks cool. And through all of the cattle pens, you can just see this part of the coaster going around. Oh, and I've also added these queue time video boards. Obviously, in real life, these will be playing videos from Thorpe Park about, how to put your restraint down, because surprisingly, a lot of people don't realise how to do that. So they need to have videos telling you to do that, but those really speed up operations. So I've added them to this coaster. And also, Thorpe Park runs an event called Fright Nights. It's open till 9 PM in October, so you need some floodlights to light up the queue when it gets dark. Oh, I've also added these little bins as well, just for realism. Another strange machine. Yeah, apart from that, there's not really that much to see in the queue. I don't think there would be, apart from the great view of the building. I put a lot of effort into this exterior, and I think it works. I mean, it's very blocky, but it matches the source material I've based this building off of, so I think it works. Also, whatever this thing is. Yeah, I don't know what a lot of this is. Oh, and also there's another piece of maintenance area I forgot to mention just underneath the brake run there. Now we come into the building. Now this is the part of the queue line that's actually properly decorated. Although I'm not saying this part of the queue line isn't decorated. It took me a long time to put all of this fencing in. It's just decorated in a different way, in a realism way, much more than a themed way. So you come up here, then you get the grand reveal with the station. Look at that. Lots of chains, a lot more iron, wrought iron. I really love how this station has turned out. I've even got a little guy here letting you come in. But yeah, I adore this. I don't even know. It was a stroke of genius, to be honest. I love this crossed iron metal thing up here. I think it just really, first of all, it builds an enclosed area for the station. It's enclosed in terms of where the queue line is. It's enclosed in terms of where the exit is. And just in time to see the dispatch sequence, cogs turning, a piston pushes down, and steam spews out. Yeah, it's brilliant. I genuinely love what I've done inside this station. I think this might be actually my favourite part of the entire build. But since we're here in the station, I think it's time we have a ride. There we go. Enjoy. So there it was, the POV of Surge. I love the layout, to be honest. I think it might be my favourite coaster I've built in Planet Coaster 2. Maybe I still prefer Sleipnir from Legend Lake. Yeah, also a quick look over here at the op cabin. I've done a little bit. This is how I play the pre-show. And over here I've got a window out of the station where you can overlook the ride area as you exit. And of course, I've already mentioned this, but the disabled lift. And then we come out of the exit. Here, by the way, is the entrance to the fast pass queue line. Just come under, it just connects back up to there. And then out of the exit, we have another little strange machine here. Again, don't really know what's going on there. And I've also added, of course, a memorial to Rumba Rapids. I built this boat out of scenery pieces. I think it, is pretty accurate to how the boats actually looked. And yeah, just a little memorial. I never went on Rumba Rapids, but it's still nice to be sentimental about things, isn't it? And of course, the flower bed there is where the station for Rumba Rapids used to be. And then coming out the exit, you get another beautiful view across the lake as the coaster goes round. Another look at that large scenery piece. You fly past it very, very fast on the ride, but it works more so as something to view off ride. And then we come into the gift shop. We have the ride photos, and it's quite a basic gift shop in here. I do like it. Does look very industrial, which I like, with these aquatic lights, the the raw Titan, everything. It all fits with the theme. It kind of looks like a warehouse sort of thing. Finished goods sold here. And yeah, also here at the viewing area, a lovely panoramic view across the lake that you get. And yeah, that is it. That is my submission to the Rumba Rapids Replacement Challenge. Let me know what you think in the comments, and yeah, I hope I get a good place. I am no way expecting to win because there are some brilliant Planet Coaster players out there. But yeah, I'm personally happy with what I've done here. And oh wait, there's one more thing to show you actually. As I said earlier, Thorpe Park does have a Fright Nights where it runs till 9 p.m. So if we change the time to 9 p.m, I have done a little bit of a lighting package on this ride. The track's lit up. The queue line is lit up mainly just by white floodlights, but the station too is lit up atmospherically. Yeah, I've put in quite a bit of effort into the nighttime lighting on this ride as well, including even realism wise for the maintenance areas. So yeah, let me know what you think of Surge and all of the Amity Industries area. And that being said, take care and goodbye.